Okay, this is going to be pretty hard to do, but we are going to attempt to rank the top 30 wide receivers rest of season. Now, I don't want to overreact to what we've had through the first 2 weeks, but I'm sorry if I do. I'm sorry if I'm excited that we've been able to watch some football here. But before we get into this video, make sure you go down there, drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel. And I got great news. If you want to get our top 150 fantasy football rankings rest of season, if you want to go check out these cool player props, if you want to get into some drafts with us on the live stream, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $200. So it's essentially free for you to check out. And you will get our rest of season rankings, quarterback, running back, tight end, receiver, overall. That will be emailed to you after you sign up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. Last thing is, of course, if you have any questions, leave them down there in the comment section. I'm going to try to answer at least 200 comments in this video. But let's go through. Let's dive into these rankings here. Oh, this is going to be tough. Let's go tier 1. Cooper Kupp starting us off here. I mean, with Kupp, he didn't have the big Justin Jefferson week 1 performance, but you have the consistency where he's Cooper Kupp. Look at what we had last year. Look at what we had in the playoffs. Look at what we've had through the first 2. I don't need to talk about him. Justin Jefferson here at 2. I mean, with Justin Jefferson on track to potentially be the wide receiver 1 maybe next year. But right now, I do think we have to give this slight edge to Kupp for the consistency. But if Justin Jefferson is playing in that 1 p.m. game where you don't have primetime Kirk Cousins, probably in a pretty good spot to be the wide receiver 1 overall. And we're going to have Stephon Diggs at 3. Yes, we are moving Stephon Diggs above Jamar Chase here. With Jamar Chase at 4, 100%, I think the Cincinnati Bengals offense is going to get better going forward. I don't expect them to lose against the Jets. I don't expect them to be as disappointing as what they've been so far. Remember, this is a completely revamped offensive line. Maybe it would make sense for this to take a little bit of time to gel together. But still, we don't expect the Cincinnati Bengals to be putting up as many points as the Buffalo Bills. So we got to go with Stephon Diggs over Chase at this point. And let's drop it down to our next tier. Let's go Devonte Adams at 5. Devonte Adams, I mean, a somewhat disappointing year in week 2. But at the end of the day, 17 targets week 1. This is still a wide receiver that's at the very top of the NFL in targets. I'm surprised he's seeing this kind of volume. I thought that it was going to go down going over to Las Vegas. But hell, nope, he's still crushing. I think we still have him at 5. And then we're going to move Tyreek Hill up to 6 here in this same tier. Now, with Tyreek, if you could trade him for Devonte Adams, if you could trade him for Jamar Chase, I would be selling high. I mean, here, he did not have nearly as many targets as Jalen Waddle a week ago. And obviously, the week that Tua Tagovailoa threw for 6 passing touchdowns. But you go back to week 1, he had 12 targets. So it looks like this is a true wide receiver 1A, wide receiver 1A type situation here in Miami with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle right next to each other. We'll get to our guy Jalen Waddle in just one second, but let's drop it down another tier where we are going to be looking at A.J. Brown here as the wide receiver 7. With A.J. Brown and Philadelphia, I feel like if anything, he's gotten a little unlucky. Now, of course, we are going to assume that Jalen Hurts continues to rack up rushing touchdowns. But Jalen Hurts has been averaging over 1 rushing touchdown so far a week. I think this does come back down to earth ever so slightly. With fewer rushing touchdowns for Jalen Hurts, more passing touchdowns in general. Obviously, that's going to be a bump up for A.J. Brown. Quez Watkins stole the long touchdown reception this past week. I think that's also probably going to be going over in the direction of Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown going forward, and Philadelphia looks fantastic. Then our wide receiver 8, my most drafted guy in fantasy football this year, Jalen Waddle. Now, to be completely fair, with Waddle here, I'm probably being overly optimistic. Like I said, I'm extremely biased. He's my most drafted wide receiver when we did 700 plus drafts on Underdog this offseason. But hell, 19 targets week 2. He was, and as we've always said, an elite high school recruit going to Alabama, an elite prospect coming from Alabama. He was an elite rookie, and he's been great through the first 2 weeks. If it looks like a duck, if it swims like a duck, Jalen Waddle's probably an elite level receiver. I will practice my Waddle in one of these live streams. We'll be doing it for you. And then our next wide receiver is going to be Debo Samuel. Here with Debo Samuel, I mean, love the changeover to Jimmy Garoppolo. Here, I think you could probably put Debo over Jalen Waddle if you're not as biased as I am. I was worried about Trey Lance because we thought Lance was going to dump the ball off as often. We thought this team was going to be more run heavy overall. I thought Trey Lance was going to steal Debo Samuel's rushing touchdowns at the goal line. But Debo Samuel looks like that rushing production is here to stay. Trey Lance hurt, bump Debo. Elijah Mitchell hurt, bump Debo. Tyrion Davis-Price hurt. Bump Debo. I mean, right now, I think Debo Samuel may actually be able to do what we said he couldn't and repeat the 8 rushing touchdowns he had a year ago. And our last wide receiver in this tier, if you wanted to put him as high as 7, I'm not going to argue with you. That's why we do these as tier list. Amon-Ra St. Brown. With St. Brown, I mean, if you're looking at my rankings currently for week 3, I actually have him ahead of a few of these guys. And the reason is, with Amon-Ra St. Brown, he has just been dominant with the targets through the first 2 weeks here, continuing the trend of what we had at the end of last season. Now, I'm going to give the slight edge to Waddle, the slight edge to Debo Samuel, as I think they have better quarterbacks. And I think long-term, there will be added target competition to Detroit. I don't expect Jameson Williams to come in here and be the wide receiver 1. No, I don't expect that at all. But when Jameson Williams comes in the second half of the year, I think that's going to be enough for us to give the edge to A.J. Brown, the edge to Jalen Waddle, the edge to Debo Samuel. So maybe you want to make the argument Amon-Ra should be at the top of this list, and maybe for the time being, he should. But long-term, I'm going to prefer these other guys. Now let's get down to our next receiver, wide receiver 11 here. T. Higgins. With T. Higgins, this is an option that I think you can be extremely excited about. The bounce back for the Cincinnati Bengals. We saw that T. Higgins had that bounce back week 2 himself. Week 1, can't use it against him. The man had a concussion. So I think we just buy the dip here. He was a low-end wide receiver 1 last year. I don't expect any of that to change. And then our wide receiver 12 is going to be Michael Pittman. With Pittman, we took, all offseason when I said, you know what? Matt Ryan's probably not that much of an upgrade over Carson Wentz. Look at what Matt Ryan went for in trade this offseason. Look at what Washington gave up for Carson Wentz. I don't get why y'all are so excited about Matt Ryan. I don't get why everybody has Michael Pittman ranked as a top 10 wide receiver immediately. But hell, we saw it week 1. It looks like this offense is nothing without Michael Pittman. We had him ranked as, I think, the wide receiver 14 coming into the year, maybe the wide receiver 15 behind Jalen Waddle. I think we got to move him up to wide receiver 12. And someone falling is going to be Mike Evans, wide receiver 13 here. Obviously, Mike Evans missing week 3. And long-term, I think maybe by the time we get to week 4, hopefully by the time we get to week 4, we have Chris Godwin healthy. We have Julio Jones healthy. We have Russell Gage healthy. Hopefully, there are enough wide receivers to be able to take targets away from Mike Evans, where he wasn't that top 10 guy you thought he was going to be coming into the year. And then our next wide receiver, someone else that has fallen down behind someone like Michael Pittman for us, is going to be CeeDee Lamb. With Lamb, everybody's favorite breakout this year, given the opportunity that was available in Dallas and an offense that was the number 1 offense in overall points scored a year ago. However, the Dak Prescott injury is going to be devastating. I don't want to overreact to how bad this offense looked before the Dak Prescott injury. I think it was going up against a tough defense in Tampa. Obviously, this team has had a considerable amount of offensive line injuries as well. So I think if we're comparing our rankings of CeeDee Lamb today versus where they were a month ago, of course he's going to be a lot lower, but it is warranted giving all these injuries. Just don't panic. Like, he still can easily be a wide receiver 1 when Dak Prescott comes back in Dallas. But now our next guy is going to be Mike Williams, wide receiver 15. We'll throw Keenan Allen, wide receiver 16 here as well. Y'all know we had Keenan Allen ranked above Mike Williams coming into the season. For that reason, I really never drafted Mike Williams in the 3rd round. But the second we had the Keenan Allen hamstring injury, we ignored the fact that Mike Williams was very disappointing week 1. We said, you know what? If Keenan Allen's not in this offense, Mike Williams is a bona fide stud playing alongside Justin Herbert. I think if Keenan's going to be dealing with this hamstring, we don't know if he's going to be good to go or not week 3. This could be something that lingers just for the time being. If he's going to be an older wide receiver, maybe dealing with the nagging hamstring injury, I would give Mike Williams the edge over him now, even if I wasn't coming into the year. Now let's drop it down to our next tier. Let's go Michael Thomas, 17. Love what we've seen with our Michael Thomas share so far. However, Chris Olave is eventually going to break out. Alvin Kamara is now healthy again. Jarvis Landry is drawing targets. It looks like Taysom Hill may occasionally be stealing touchdowns. So there's a considerable amount of target competition here in New Orleans. I think that does have to make you a little bit worried about Michael Thomas in general, but it is what it is. And now our next guy is going to be Courtland Sutton, 18. Yes, I mean, we also had Jerry Judy ranked above him coming into the season. Jerry Judy coming in here at 19. I was Keenan Allen over Mike Williams. I was Jerry Judy over Courtland Sutton. Seems like our guys are the ones that are getting hurt here. I mean, with Jerry Judy dealing with the shoulder injury, I feel like we have to move him behind Sutton. And to be fair, when it looks like Gabriel Davis is healthy and good to go, when it looks like Gabriel Davis is going to be playing in an offense that can sleepwalk to a 40-point performance, we actually probably need to put Gabriel Davis 19 and Jerry Judy 20, just because this Buffalo Bills team looks like by far and away the best team in the NFL, by far and away the best offense. And I think we want every piece of it we can get, specifically in the receiving game. So let's go Gabriel Davis 19, drop Jerry Judy down to 20. So Judy falling a little bit in our rankings. It's not as if I didn't like what we had with Jerry Judy through the first 2 weeks. I understand a lot of people are worried about Russell Wilson. I actually think Russell Wilson's going to be better going forward. I think it makes sense that a quarterback that spent the past decade in Seattle struggles a little bit when he goes to a new team with a different coaching staff. I think maybe you can buy the dip on these Denver Broncos pass catchers, but I mean, hell, I have to move Jerry Judy down due to the shoulder injury. Even if he would be good to go this week, this is still something that can linger for a few weeks, affecting his fantasy football value. Now let's go to our next receiver, Drake London, 21. With Drake London here, oh my gosh, week 2, 12 targets, 25 pass attempts for Marcus Mariota. Almost a 50% team target share for Drake London in his second NFL season. We talked about him being an elite level prospect. We were all in on him in dynasty rookie drafts, even though we had the haters telling us, oh, Mason, he's too slow, he's not athletic, yada, yada. No, Drake London at 17/18 years old as a true freshman at USC went into a wide receiver room that had Michael Pittman Jr. there as a senior and Amon-Ra St. Brown there as a sophomore. With those two players, Drake London still managed to get on the field, still managed to average, off the top of my head, I believe it was like 71 receiving yards per game, something ridiculous. You have to be so excited about Drake London. I mean, I am going to have him here as that mid wide receiver too, because I obviously have my question marks surrounding Marcus Mariota. I think Kyle Pitts gets better going forward as well. So because the overall offense, we had to cap him a little bit. But from a dynasty perspective, oh my gosh, you could be way more excited about London than this. Now, our next wide receiver, 22, is going to be Deontay Johnson. With Deontay, we'll rank him back-to-back here. Christian Kirk, 23, okay? Both of these guys were on our buy low wide receiver videos week 1. Deontay Johnson was in our buy low wide receiver video week 2. I'm recording this before the Steelers play the Cleveland Browns, but if I have to guess what happens here with Deontay Johnson, maybe we see 10, 11, 12 targets as we usually do, as we have every game essentially in 2020, in 2021, in 2022. Just a crazy amount of targets here for Deontay Johnson. Christian Kirk, I mean here, this is a wide receiver that, like we said, he was a buy low candidate for us after week 1. I have some concerns with Jacksonville, but you can be very excited about what you've seen so far. And then our next wide receiver is going to be DJ Moore, 24. I think you know what you're getting with DJ Moore. You're getting a wide receiver that's going to draw targets in a very bad offense. I thought Baker Mayfield was going to be better than this. I don't know why I convinced myself that. Of course, OU sucks. Hook 'em horns. We should have known that Baker Mayfield was not going to save this situation. But looking at the adjusted yards per pass attempt for Baker in Cleveland compared to what he's done in Carolina so far, maybe this is just Baker was propped up by a great offensive line in Cleveland, by a couple of great running backs there. And now that he goes to Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers, who are dysfunctional top to bottom, maybe Baker Mayfield wasn't that much of an upgrade over Sam Darnold. And I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be significantly better than Darnold. Hopefully, DJ Moore gives us more going forward. And then our next wide receiver is going to be Chris Godwin. With Chris Godwin, very concerning that he has the hamstring injury, week 1. They rushed him back. We thought he was going to come into our lineups week 3, week 4. I did not think we were getting Chris Godwin week 1. I wish they didn't play him. I wish they made sure that he was fully healthy. I don't know when we're getting Godwin back. I'd be very surprised if he makes it back here week 3. And the thing is, if he comes back week 4, you can't start him. We don't even know if he comes back week 4. You're going to have to wait a week to see the production before you put him in your starting lineup. So say Chris Godwin doesn't come back from the hamstring injury until week 5. You may not be at 100% right away. We wouldn't be able to start him until week 6. And then he's going to have serious target competition with Mike Evans, Julio Jones, Russell Gage. I don't know. I really like Godwin coming into the season, but him dealing with this hamstring injury, which obviously is the compensation injury here, I don't know. Love the player. Hate this injury uncertainty. Now let's go down to our next tier. Led off with Hollywood Brown, 26. DeAndre Hopkins, 27. I mean, with Hollywood, I thought he was going to be better. I thought Hollywood Brown was going to be better with no DeAndre Hopkins here. I guess maybe the Arizona Cardinals have just been so dysfunctional in that if we go through and look at Colin Murray, like I think this offense is going to be significantly better in the second half of the year, which is funny because that's the exact opposite of what we've seen so far through Cal Murray's career in Arizona, through Cliff Kingsbury's career in Arizona. Usually they start off hot, then fade down the stretch. But if we look at the splits with and without DeAndre Hopkins for Colin Murray, Colin Murray, in like the 25 games he's played with DeAndre Hopkins, 26 fantasy points per game, a truly elite level quarterback, dominating in every statistical category. However, in those games where DeAndre Hopkins does not play, this offense is significantly worse. Colin Murray goes from averaging 26 points per game to 20 points per game, obviously fantasy. Maybe Hopkins coming back in is going to take some volume away from Hollywood Brown. But if he can just make this a better offense in general, maybe it'll be the tide that rises all boats. I think this is a very good opportunity to buy low on Colin Murray. I don't exactly know how to rank these wide receivers here. I think they have a lot more upside than this. I could easily see wanting to take them before guys like DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk, Chris Godwin, where you don't have to worry about injuries. You don't have to worry about bad offenses. So you know what? We're actually going to fix this. Let's go and let's move Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins to wide receiver 26, 27, but the tier above, like I said, I think you could take them over those other guys specifically because they should be playing in a much better offense with a much better quarterback in general. But now let's go down to our next tier where we're going to have Rashad Bateman, 28. With Rashad Bateman, I mean, this is a wide receiver that, yes, has dominated through the first 2 weeks, but it's been with long touchdown receptions. I don't necessarily think that this is going to be something that's sustainable going forward. So with Bateman here, I don't know. He's going to be on a run first offense with Mark Andrews clearly as the top option here. He's a player that has a lot of talent. I think 28 is a fair spot for him. And we're going to have Terry McLaurin, 29. With Terry McLaurin, he's dealing with Curtis Samuel, John Dotson, Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, Logan Thomas, all taking targets, and they've been fine so far through the first 2 weeks. But the reason they've been fine is Carson Wentz is going out there and pumping it up over 300 passing yards per game. And like I said, I spent almost the entire offseason going, oh no, Michael Pittman's not a top 10 wide receiver. Matt Ryan's not that much of an upgrade over Carson Wentz. Y'all are overreacting here. I spent the entire offseason sticking up for Carson Wentz, but I feel like people have gone crazy because he had a good game against Jacksonville. He had a bunch of passing yards against the Detroit Lions. Like, let's not overreact here. I think this is going to be a very crowded room in general in Washington, and I think Carson Wentz gets significantly worse from here. Now, our last wide receiver spot is so difficult. We have another guy in Washington with Curtis Samuel. We have a rookie breaking out in Garrett Wilson. We have the consistent production from Brandon Cooks. There are so many other players we can mention for this 30 spot. Like I said, if y'all want all our rankings, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar 200, so it's essentially free for you. You can check out all these cool player props, and you can draft with us on the live stream during the season. But I think if we have to give a tiebreaker here, let's go Garrett Wilson. We'll go Garrett Wilson. I mean, yes, we're taking him over Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is probably what smart people would do, but give me the upside. Give me the rookie that I think we can be very excited about. And if you disagree with these rankings, if you think, no, Mason, you're an idiot, Brandon Cooks needs to be in the top 30, let me know. Who do you think should be in the top 30? Where would you rank them? If you disagree with any of these rankings, go down to the comment section. Let me know what we should update. I'll try to get y'all another one of these videos soon. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them down there in that comment section. Drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you want to come out to our live streams. But thank you again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day, and I hope we get to see you with the live stream tonight.